Crazyhouse Arena. This is a 3-hour event. Players are they play with 3 plus 0, no increment, and we have a lot of top players participating, as you can see at the top. After 17 minutes been played, you have Morlock and Terra 87 at 26 points, but I know there are a lot of strong players lurking further down the table, so let's jump in here and see what's happening. Let's follow Morlock in this game. So what's happening here? It seems like White has a decent position. These knights are just protecting each other. And if, in case you're wondering what I'm drinking tonight, it's just 1 glass of rum and coke. So who is this Almara guy? Seems like a strong chess player, but he hasn't played much Crazyhouse, just 9 games. Just enough, I think, to participate in the tournament. Black giving up a queen just to get away from the center with the king, but this doesn't seem to help him much. White is crashing through here. Cheers. And not so easy to defend this knight. This is the only square. White keeps pounding on the knight here. Black desperately trying to find some counterplay, but White defends easily. And now e8 is up for grabs. And the sheer material advantage is quite enough here to win for White, who could finish with pawn f7 and knight d6. Would have been the quickest, I think. But he's just going to flag instead. Okay. So Almara wins. Let's get back to the tournament. That was Morlock's first loss, and also Terra 87 lost his game. He's playing Anjo Nakamura. Let's watch this game. White with a very typical knight f4 looks good for black here. Space, I was about to say space advantage, but look at these guys. Giving black great dynamic position, and this is ugly. I was thinking take with the knight here, and then take here, and then play knight c2 check. This should be enough as well. Yeah, you can just take here probably. Just watch out for 2 pawns here. That knight won't do much harm. Actually, white isn't threatening anything. He can pick up the queen, but then what? Just knight f3 here. Isn't that good? And queen d2 mate. And Joe Nakamura wins. And he's advancing in the field. He's undefeated. And we also have Maple Kev here. And who else? Legion Destroyer has just started playing. And I think... yeah, Jan Lee is playing as well, but he has some technical problems, I think. But I'm sure he will join. Who are we going to watch? Do we have an audience? Yay! 1 viewer. That's just great. Welcome. Let's pick someone. I don't know these guys. Who is this? Unheard of. A rather unorthodox opening play here. And doesn't white have some problems here after bishop b4? This pin seems really awkward. So giving the queen for 2 pieces, but it takes a while to go in this direction. So, and meanwhile black was threatening mate on d1. Pawns are useful for black here. He could go pawn takes here maybe, and then pawn c3. White anticipated this, giving up a bishop for what could be an attack, but this looks very dangerous as well. Where is the mate? Maybe black is hoping to take on g2. But is it really mate? Take here, king takes. Knight h4. Maybe the king can survive. But this is, isn't it close to mate here? Queen takes, king takes, pawn here. It's super close to mate. That knight is hanging, by the way. And it looks like black is winning here. He has a huge material lead. And I think rook here was winning on the spot. It's still winning, I think. Why let the king get away? Why? Oh, why? But this attack looks very, very nasty. So, regeneration 1. I'm just curious if he missed a forced mate somewhere here. Yeah, rook e1 was better. And I guess this isn't mate. Let's just let the computer think for a little while. No, black doesn't have enough to finish. Okay, back to the tournament. Who's in the lead? Morlock is in the lead. And he seems to have an excellent position here. Material is about equal. Black being down a couple of pawns, but that doesn't really matter because he has put his pieces on the board. Okay, thank you so much for the raid. Welcome. We are watching the Giga Crazyhouse Arena. And we are watching Morlock crushing S-Def X. And the knight is coming here and it's almost mate. And now it is forced mate. Let's say rook here, bishop, and then take g2 and then it's mate. Wait, what happened here? Okay, white gave some material just to survive. Thank you so much. Morlock is a very fast player, as I have experienced myself. And death is waiting here on the... But he's blundering here. The queen was hanging. The queen was hanging. That was a very odd finish. Yeah, white could have just taken d2. But look, white is up so much on material. How do I pronounce my nickname? Well, my original fix nickname was Gnace. Try to say Grace, but insert an N instead of the R. And there you have it. Gnace. So now you can stop butchering it. Let's get back to the tournament. Morlock in the lead versus this mysterious guy, Almara, who likes to play b3 in the first move. I have my suspicions who this is. I've seen a guy pretty strong who likes to play b3 in the first move. Yeah, but not so much the in between. Just a fluid Gnace. You're welcome. Looks like white is in great shape here, crashing through on the dark squares. Ooh, d6 must have hurt. Simply king b1, I think. Or, well, this should be mate. Knight c5 takes care of these squares, and bishop here and mate next move. Or this, also mate in 2. Almare beats Moloch, who is halted in the top of the tournament. Terra87 is playing Maple Kev. Let's watch this. Super Octopus here on e5, threatening a lot. And black has countered with a queen here on e8, protecting everything from behind. I guess white wished he had something else than a rook to put on d3 here. Perhaps not the piece he wanted to put in between. I really don't see a reason why white shouldn't have played bishop f7 instead. Bishop f7, forking, and maybe if black had taken, you could play rook h8. Certainly it was a lot better than getting mated like this. Actually, the computer likes bishop e6. What about bishop here? I was thinking, oh, maybe there are no more checks after this. Yeah, right. So bishop e6 was good, but then he missed a simple mate here. And here's the trick. Yeah, here's the trick. Check with the rook on h8. If the king takes, you take with the knight on f7, and if this comes, you have bishop takes h6. That was actually quite a nice finish, would have been. Instead, the following disaster happened. Ouch. But even after king f2, knight takes f4, black is in great shape. It's even mate in 9. Or who was getting mated in 9? Black is winning. Okay. Morlock in the lead, followed by Terra 87 and Almare. And Jur Nakamura is winning and winning in 4th place, and he's on fire, as is Maple Kev. Do we have any hot shots further down here? Legion Destroyer has a defeat. Has Jan Lee started playing yet? No. But he can catch up. Who do you want to watch? Let's watch this. Morlock versus Almare. Some nice dynamic piece play here by black. And this is a real problem here. If you take here, you can take on d4, and black is infiltrating the f3 square. Forks everywhere. I like this. But what is this? How much did he lose there? So many pieces. This is just, he's a queen and a piece down. And obviously black is winning here. So I'll have a sip on my drink. Yeah, simply take e2, and the g3 square is where black will enter the white castle. And black just keeps winning material on every move here. Knight at f1. Picking up the last two rooks also. Just being very pragmatic about this. Take all the material there is. And I don't quite see why white is fighting here, because look at that. Almaria wins again. So, Anjou Nakamura is undefeated. Let's watch his game against Maple Kev. And as we enter the game, white has a mating threat here on d8. And there is also stuff like knight g7, full byte queen f8. Looks like black is having some problems here. It was this pawn sacrifice opening. Nice little queen sack there by white, I think. This is good for white, but I'm not quite sure. Do you play queen b7 maybe? Queen b7. Because where does the rook go? I was thinking rook b8, you can just take it, and rook d8. Yeah, let's look at queen b7 after this. I'm not entirely convinced here by white's attack anymore. As a matter of fact, I think white is losing here. Too many threats for white. No way to cover d1. Of course, he can pick up the e2 pawn, but black would simply take it, and then it should be over. Yeah, just take it. Because if white takes, you have knight d4. This, I'd say this is a bit unnecessary. But most likely winning anyway. The black king just dancing around. He has so much material. Let's see if White missed a chance here. This was my suggestion. Oh, there's a very nice defensive resource here that I missed. Queen at b4 check. Okay. Picking up the queen with check here. Very important. So I missed that. Then I guess black was doing quite okay here. The queen sack was not so strong as I thought. It was bad. So who's in the lead? Morlock versus Almada. No. He won versus Almada, who's in second now. Terra 87 has taken a break, as has Almada. But Morlock at the top is on fire. And what's happening here? Otto Kolobos is playing white. Seems like he has a nice attack going here. Janli is playing Maple Kev. Yeah, we could switch to that. I'm just curious how this finishes. Morlock is in the lead. And white has some interesting attacking possibilities here. If he can keep the momentum going. F6 is under attack. Maybe pawn e7 is the way to go. Why did he close the f file? He should have put the pawn here on d4 instead. Much, much better, I think. And also here, I think maybe pawn e5 was better. The idea is to get this bishop into play. And it looks like white is going to win here. He has at least a draw, but why be satisfied with a draw here? He's gonna flag black. And Otto Kolobos Manol wins. You mentioned Maple Kev. Jan Lee, of course we watch this. Jan Lee White. He's managed to pick up some material. 2 pieces up. Maybe white will get back something. What happened in the opening? Pawn sacrifice. Cool defense here by Jan Lee, picking up a piece. Okay, this is... Maybe he'll go for the queen sack here. That would be just like him, but this could be dangerous. This is a very nice move. But was this the best? Okay. The white king had an exit there, so queen at e3 wouldn't have mated. Looks like the white king is safe now, and white is ready to launch his counter-attack. Great defense by these guys. And ripping the black king side open, and yeah, this is just too much for black. So Jan Lee wins. And this looks interesting. Or maybe not. I take it back. It's mates in a couple of moves. You see, Morlock is really quick at winning, so he's gonna get a lot of points. Even if he loses now and then, he just keeps stacking those points. Regeneration versus Morlock. So what happens here? Morlock has berserked, I should mention. And is there anything wrong with just, I don't know, taking the bishop? Knight f4 or bishop g2? And in case of knight g4 here, maybe black will take on f4, bishop takes, and knight h3. So you need to think about your defense here as white. I don't think this is good for white. What was wrong with queen takes here? Knight here and possibly king h1 pawn here and take with check even with an ongoing attack. So he plays it now instead. And king h1 pawn g2 came, yeah, and a flurry of punches here for black, who closes some exits and threatens to pick up a heavy piece at some point. Also e5 is hanging. And this is not a good sign. The king marching up Up the stairs to the execution. D3 is hanging with check. And knight f5 maybe. I was thinking knight f5 and take e3. And white should just put his head on the guillotine and be done with this game. And it's mate next move. Okay, great game there by Morlock. But I'm curious, why didn't white take on c3? Here, c takes b4. Looks very good for white. So Morlock in the lead, and he's playing some low-rated guy. Let's find Legion Destroyer. And where is Jan Lee? He has paused. Okay. Yeah, I will have to go enjoy the tournament. This is a high-level game. Terra 87 and Samurai round 2. Why didn't he take... Couldn't he have taken on c7 first here? Take c7, then b4, maybe. Okay. And now you can start jabbing on the black queen. This is looking terrible for black. But I'm not sure bishop c5 was the best move, though. So, material is equal, but as you can see, the white king is a lot safer. Probably take with the queen. And actually, stuff like queen takes f7 might be nasty. Or pawn d7 followed by knight takes f7. I wonder why white didn't take the opportunity to check on d7 and just disrupt this short castling for black. I think he missed a chance there. Yeah, take here. You threaten the rook. You threaten on b4. Is it dangerous? So this is looking dangerous actually for white. He needs to go out on the board, and those two black queens are lurking and ready to get back into the game. Black could even have played queen to h5 and something here and knight e5 check. Would have been great, but this looks fantastic for black now. So white resigns very wisely. And this is what I mentioned. Why didn't he take on c7 first? Quite inexplicable. Bishop at c5 is a strong move. And somewhere here, white should have put a pawn on d7 just to get the black king to move. For instance here, pawn d7, pawn d7. Even here, pawn d7. Because now, and here, pawn d7. Black got the chance to castle now. And now it's not so clear anymore. And taking on b7 was better. But here, actually, black has the upper hand. Morlock versus Tornon. So this is a high-level game. Legion Destroyer playing white. Quick response there by white. He's trying to give up the queen for 2 pieces. Nice defense there by Anju Nakamura. And maybe you can just take the rook on a1. Why not? You see here how great bishops are at defending. They cover so much ground. I think this is too dangerous, actually. There are moves like pawn here and then rook on g8, and you have a pin here on the bishop and... Okay. But did... I thought I missed something there. But maybe I'm wrong. Looks like black is simply winning here. Pawn e4. Oh. That was bad. He missed the mate there, didn't he? So the game seems balanced, but White found a very nice idea here. But maybe it wasn't so nice after all. Rook takes f2. It actually works if you follow up with knight at g5. Pawn h5. And White has enough to kill the black king. Exchanging errors here. Rook h2, pawn h5, and here pawn e4. As I mentioned, pawn e4 wins. This is actually also winning up until the pawn at f4. Pawn e4 is still winning. And let's watch pawn e4 instead. He has one more pawn in hand, so he can put the pawn here, and the rook finishes the game. Legion Destroyer is moving up the ladder, and he's playing Morlock. Let's watch. And I like Morlock's position here. He can take on e7 or play bishop f6, which is probably even better. Very hard to handle both threats. I'm not sure why I didn't just pick up the rook for free, because with a bishop in hand, bishop e3 might be a problem. So this is maybe not so convincing. Black is alive here, alive and kicking. He has a bunch of light pieces in hand. And knight f4. And this knight actually shelters the black king. So black can start attacking here without being afraid of the counterattack. Legion Destroyer wins. White must have been in great shape there. Yeah, plus 10, plus 13, plus 15. Actually, the bishop was probably better at c1, protecting e3 and the knight at f4. So this was actually the best move. What about this? Yeah, it looks very strong as well. And white has a forced mate here. What is the forced mate? Okay, so here and... Wow. This is pretty. This is very pretty. Okay. Queen f8. Putting the queen en prise by not one, but actually 2 or 3 pieces if you count the king. Bishop takes. You need to take with something. If the rook takes, white has rook at h7, and if the king takes, you put the rook somewhere. Yeah, you have an extra rook. You have an extra rook. Ah, that's the trick. And white cannot simply interpose here. And if king g7, you have rook at g8. Very nice mate, I would say. Very instructive. Let's watch Moloch versus Terra87, and there's a mating threat on e7, so black needs to be careful. Pinning the knight. This looks good, but there is no smothered mate here. Remember, knight here. The king can actually move to h7. So I think I would have preferred to maybe just take c2 here. Can you do that? Black is combining defense and attack in a nice way here with the bishop on h6. And another bishop maybe on h6. No? You can actually take on f6. The queen is defending. f6. And this does not bode well for white. Everything comes with check. Gaining more material. And checkmate. Nice game there by Terra87. Let's watch PKNM versus Moloch. PKNM, fellow Swede. And this is a very tactical position, but it looks like black got there first, didn't he? And I was thinking simply knight at c4 check there. Because now it seems like white has mended his position. How is the material? It's more or less equal. One piece, white has given a piece for 2 pawns. It's always nice to check from a distance rather than putting it on C3, because now you can gain some material while you use your magnet to pull the white king out on the board. So why not knight here first and then knight? This was almost mate. Let's have a look here at the end. Looks like, first of all, I think this is somewhat of a trap. Yeah, E5 looks strong for black here. Taking on F6 looks excellent. And here white should have played the pawn D7 trick, rather than allowing black to play the pawn D2 vice versa trick. So black dominating the game. That's a very nice move. Knight to F1, blocking the escape route for the white king. I've seen this kind of move before. It's super effective. Just blocking the way out. If white takes it, the white king will never reach the king side. But this is also mate. Once again, knight F1. Very cute move. Keep that in mind. And queen b4 check is the strongest magnet there is. This is enough as well. Simply taking on h1 makes a lot of sense. But here it's starting to get tricky. And knight h6 is mate in 4, yeah. This is actually also mate. If you just check on h6, but the knight on h6 is much more effective, because when the knight lands here, it can go to h5 if it likes to. And then it protects g7. So black is winning, and is he winning in the end as well? Yes, he is. Okay. But white missed a chance there. Moloch and Legion Destroyer. Looks like Moloch is destroying the Legion Destroyer. He's a Legion destroyer. Is it no Legion destroyer? Is it? I've had too much rum and coke. So where's the mate? Yeah, pawn b7. Everything under control here. And this is a very useful rook. You can play rook e8 or rook b7. Why just picking up some material? And yeah, maybe we can just take b7 here. It sure looks like that. Look, he has everything under control here. Okay, Moloch wins against Legion Destroyer. And he has a firm lead in the tournament. When we're halfway through. Hi there, everybody who's watching. Any suggestions? Who do you want to follow? Let's see how this ends. Well, the white king is in peril, but black didn't have the material to finish. And it looks like actually white is doing great here. And he's mating. Knight h6 is mate in 1. And that's mate 2. Anjou Nakamura loses. And if you look at the top, you see Moloch, and he's the only guy who is on fire here. So he'll be hard to catch. Do we have any more interesting players here? CIW has won all his games. He's on fire. But I don't think he can threaten Moloch at the top. No top games at the moment. Well, here's the top game. These guys have played a ton of games. 600 games. They won about 600 games each. Provocative opening here by Anjou Nakamura. And I really don't trust the Sicilian defense in Crazyhouse because you get so weak. White could maybe just take on c6, can he? This is interesting too. Take with a knight on c6. And the queen is threatened. See, this is the kind of trouble you're looking for if you play the Sicilian in Crazyhouse. Maybe first threaten the bishop and then take d6. because I would have liked to have the b8 square cover cleared. So you could have played knight b8, rook b8 here. Oh, he goes for a queen sacrifice. That's tough. You have bishop b5 picking up the knight with an ongoing attack here. So this is looking good for white. And you don't even have to take here, because if black plays knight c6, you have pawn at d5. Great pin there. So I suppose black needs to move his king, but where is he going? King here will allow rook d7 maybe. And is the game over? Yeah. Black just resigned here. Morlock and Terra87 battling it out. And this time it looks like Morlock is winning. He has a great attack here and a great defense as well. And with the queen threatening both these two squares, there's no way white can defend everything. And mate here on c1. Cute finish by Morlock, who's on fire, as is Legion Destroyer, who is in second place now. And I hope they get paired. Yeah, they do. And look at that. Morlock is berserking. Look, maybe queen c8 here. Because of the pin. Queen c8. What do you do here? Because white can just pick up b7. And surely this should favor I mean, you could almost go bishop takes c6, bishop takes, and pawn f7, king takes, knight e5. Or is the king escaping this way then? Nice tactical trick. Black takes, knight takes f6 with a fork. A nice little family fork. So this isn't looking too well for black. The f6 square is about to get a visit by a white queen, unless black protects f6. No, queen f6, and it's mate on h8. Morlock wins again. Okay, 2 in a row against Legion Destroyer. And he's on an even 100, and he's still on fire. CIW is winning and winning. When we're halfway through, Moloch in the lead, 100 points. And now he's playing Anjo Nakamura, and we'll see a theoretical duel here in E4, E5. And Moloch is berserking constantly now. And this is not a good sign. You don't want to put your pawn on f7. Black cannot castle anymore. The rook is passive on h8. Pawn f7 is very passive. And I guess if the king takes here, white just invites a queen trade, or he could even go bishop h6, king g8, pawn g7. Either should be good. Just making sure that black doesn't have any counterplay here. So is there something with bishop takes here, pawn takes, pawn here, king takes, knight d4, and now if you take, you have an extra knight in hand. But the king can start running in this direction. So black is going for it, but notice that there is one more pawn now on the d file. Why didn't he go to d2? I'm not sure. Oh well, this looks safe as well. Yeah, this is better. You need to keep this diagonal open. Anjo Nakamura is being very resourceful here. But I think the checks are about to get... But what about queen takes c1, bishop here. I think that was it. Because now you have knight e6, for instance. Just wins on the spot. Did black actually conjure up an attack here? Well, this was the last chance. A bishop here. King f5. And now you have time to actually take on c1. Doesn't look as if white has anything dangerous. he can do. The rest was just crap. So what happens here? Maybe it's just good for white. Morlock is going to win this, I'm pretty sure. But this Autocolobus Manul won a game before. Maybe he can do it again. Looks strong with white. Remember, he just kept coming in that game. And he just keeps coming in this game as well. Both players low on time. And that's it, I think. Black will take on g4 with check, or this is just mating. Queen g4. Very impressive here by Morlock. 110 points. Seems like Black is doing fine here. He's won some material. Maybe it's time to pick up this pawn here. Looks very weak. So maybe pawn h3. The king needs to advance up the board then. Pawn g2. I suppose white needs to give his queen, because this isn't fun. And rook takes b1. This is bad. Bad, bad, bad. You can queen here. Pick up e1 or check on g5. Pawn at g5. So the white king will never ever get back. And black is just so safe. I don't even understand why white is playing here. Just take all the material and laugh in his face. And I mean, what? Black can happily give up the queen here. When you have a mating attack, who cares about the material? Bishop here first. You need to block, and then you take h2, delivering mate. Cute by Maple Kev. Do we have any surprises down here? No one that can catch them at the top. So it's all about Morlock, Legion Destroyer, and it's just about Morlock actually. And Bishop G5 looks like mate. And the knight on G8 is also mate. Morlock wins again. And as you can see, he's pretty much the only guy at the top who has the guts to berserk. And he's piling up a ton of points. And Legion Destroyer can't quite get it going on. So a little theoretical duel here. But this is just bad. Bishop f2 and you can take on g3, and this is... Why didn't you take with a knight and then the bishop? Well, I suppose this is good. Bam, bam, bam. Morlock winning again. He couldn't take on e4 because of the knight fork on g3. Threatening mate. Threatening mate once again, and maybe you can just take the rook if you like to. Yeah, cross on line surrendered. So, Maple Kev and Legion Destroyer. The same early Queen h4 excursion that we saw in another game. White decided to take the free piece, or free or not quite free. Black got a pawn for it. And I'm not really convinced about the black possibilities here. The attack seems a lot like wishful thinking. e4 is hanging, and if black needs to defend the e4 pawn with his pawn in hand, he will get a very rigid pawn structure where the extra piece will tell. You see, that's what I mean. White could just start playing some chess here. Neither player has stuff in hand. Well, king h1 maybe. But then black has some sort of attack. He can attack G2 then. Black queen almost trapped. And black decides to give up the queen for some really murky compensation. You can just take here and play bishop g5, threatening the knight, threatening mate on e7. Looks very much like it's winning for white. So bishop g5, yeah, he finds it. And maybe the problem with bishop knight f4 is bishop e3. White can just lean back and enjoy the position where he's a queen, full queen up. All resistance is futile. There's a mating threat, queen d8, and also pawn b7 picks up a rook. And now I was saying bishop d6, but because you want to keep the queen for the knockout blow. But obviously this is quite enough for white, who has a bunch of threats. One is queen a4 followed by bishop b5. This is also forced mate. And instead of moving Legion Destroyer, let's say his time ran out. Not very sportsman-like. And Morlock is just, he keeps building wins. He has a tremendous winning streak. But maybe it ends now. Queen d7, the king is heading out on the board. Is this really as clear as the other line? I couldn't see a forced mate then, but the king was on the 3rd rank, or let's say 6th rank, and the king was cut off. But now you simply, you got a knight for e7, knight e7. Knight at e7 is mate the next move. All right, cute. That was cute. Looks like black can take on e5 here with a decent position. Maybe even advantageous. Queen and e5 is actually the best move. How strong is this? Oh, he doesn't have to go out on the board. I thought he had to play king takes f6. But he can go to f8. This is very good for white. But I missed king f8. Which, by the way, is a very natural move, but I missed it anyway. So, apparently, Morlock lost the game. Who did he lose to? He lost to Anshul Nakamura. Was it that the game we watched? Yeah, it was. And now he's playing Legion Destroyer. Maybe this is the last chance for Legion Destroyer to do anything. And he has some interesting pressure here on the open and semi-open files. I suppose you could just take and queen takes, and well, this is pretty much the same. I kind of liked another idea here. Pawn e7, because if white gets the chance, he will play queen at f8, rook takes, pawn takes, and then bishop g7 followed by mate in the next move. I don't see anything good for black after pawn e7, but perhaps this is good as well. And either the queen lands on e7 or b7. So probably bishop d7, and then take the rook, because there's a mate on b7. And white can simply take on c5. Queen takes, you have knight a6 mate. Yeah, well, white can take on b6 anytime he likes to. Or maybe there's a mate somewhere. But what's wrong with taking on b6? Knight c5, mate next move. And instead he won on time. Morlock has lost 2 games in a row. Maybe things can happen still. He's playing Terra 87, and Terra 87 is having, I think, a terrible tournament. Terra 87 has lost a ton of games. Yeah, he's playing like a 2100 player. Not so impressive, but maybe he can do something in this game. Sure looks like he has chances. Oh, I would have taken G5 first here, I think. Don't know. Wait, sorry. Bishop H4. Okay. So of course you can take on D3. And then you have a check on F2. But then what? White mates on D7. So where is the compensation? Moloch is looking everywhere, but he doesn't have anything here. He doesn't even have a pawn in hand, and he's losing one piece after the other. Probably bishop at H3. Thank you so much there, Crazy Maharaja. And white is closing in for the kill. He's picking up a free rook. Maybe pawn C7 first and then take the rook and then it's mate. And black doesn't even have a piece in hand, so he can't do anything. I think Terra is just toying a little bit here. And mate next move. So Moloch loses again. He's been castling long here. His 3 last games. And both Legion Destroyer and Anju Nakamura and Maple Cap and CIW and Tall Cabot. Well, the first few players I mentioned, they are on fire. Maybe there's a slight chance that we can catch up. He's playing Legion Destroyer here, and Legion Destroyer needs a win badly. A theoretical duel here. Maybe I can learn something here. Isn't this good for black? This is looking strange. What about pawn d7 here? If you need to take with the bishop, you can simply play knight takes e5 and... Ooh, yeah, pawn d7. Probably need to take with the queen. This is not what black was hoping for. Let's say pawn e4, white takes here. You can't even take on d3 because of knight takes c7 mate. I foresee a lot of trades on d7 and the black king coming out on the board and getting massacred. Can a single king get massacred? Maybe not. But he will die. He will die. I'm pretty sure. Doesn't matter what you put on e7, you can simply take here because you have all the material in the world to finish off the black king. Yeah, just pull him out on the board, cut him off from behind. The queen is covering all these 3 squares, and I don't think Morlock even counted here, but he just reckons he has enough to finish off. Maybe knight f3 covers even more squares here. These are covered as well. So yeah, you can just take on e4 also, and bishop d3. Black is soon running out of squares. Pawn at g3. And just put the pawns on the board and mate him. Very effective play there by Morlock. I'm curious here in the opening, because I do play this as black. So what do you do against knight at b5? Okay, so you go back, and here you play e5. It's funny how the computer thinks e5 is fine, and then all of a sudden, no, it's not. It's really tricky. But apparently you're not supposed to take on c6. You're supposed to play knight f3. Wow. And here black didn't play bishop b4 check. That certainly gives him more options. And this is just good for white. And look at pawn d7. And indeed you do have to take with the queen, but it just looks hopeless. Queen takes, and you need to take with the king to avoid the fork on c7. Eunjo Nakamura is in second place right now. He's playing CIW, who's only lost 1 game. Let's watch these 2 guys. Looks like white is slightly safer. I was thinking pawn at g7 instead of knight h6 in this position. Pawn g7, threatening mate on h8. Doesn't black need to sacrifice the queen? Knight takes. It sure looks good for white in my eyes. Because now you have the problem with the knight hanging on d4. Good to see that so many are watching me. It's Saturday night. It's Giga Crazyhouse Arena. And I have an empty glass that I'm about to do something about. This was great stuff, by the way. Gran Reserva. Flor de Caña. Rum from where? Nicaragua. Okay. Great stuff. The g7 square looks really, really weak Of course, black cannot afford to trade queens here. But what is he supposed to do then? That fixes the problem temporarily. But I suppose white could trade queens and play queen e7 maybe? Queen e7, is that a move? This is not as convincing. Black has a ton of material to put on the board, so if he just can stay safe until he gets the time to put the pieces on the board, black is better, of course. So maybe pawn g7. Looking okay now. Wow, White is really going for it. He wants that g7 square. But he's out of ammunition. But bishop f6 was very dangerous there, wasn't it? Bishop f6 instead. Okay. Because now it looks like black is safe. He's trying to flag here. And indeed it does look like he's succeeding. And mate here, or that was a prettier one. Okay, I thought that was a very interesting game. What has... Yeah, maybe pawn g7 here. Taking on c4, cold-blooded defense. My suggestion was queen e7. Yeah, but you just give a piece back. Pawn g7 was much easier here. You avoid a lot of trades. I could just take on e5 here. That's sick. So this is a sign for white isn't threatening anything at the moment. Knight e4 does indeed look strong. I was thinking bishop f6 here, but okay. Pawn e7 or bishop h4, deflecting the bishop. Looks like it's good, but knight e6 was a great idea. Ooh, tremendous pressure here. Even though, look at how much white has sacrificed. The queen and the rook for only a pawn, but look at those weaknesses. Knight f7 seems to do the trick. But now white is actually better. Knight at f5 wins in just 6 moves. And here white is winning if he takes on g3, but he got flagged. No, he didn't get flagged, but he was about to get flagged and he got mated instead. Molk has a 50-point lead, 53 points. So there's no way anyone is catching up. What is the... Are there any high-level games? Well, black needs to secure this outpost. This is not a great threat, because you can just move the king. But I probably like pawn at h3. What is white supposed to do then? I'm not as sure about this. Because now there are, if you take on f7, there are all sorts of rook at h8 tricks. So just take it, I'd say. Okay, looking for something like bishop f7, king h8, bishop takes, king takes, knight f5, and mate on g7. Surely black won't swallow that bait. He could have played knight g1 check. Take the queen. Take the pawn. No, don't take the pawn. Take it with the king instead. Oh, sneaky, sneaky, CIW. So you should take on f6. And look, knight takes is even better. Castling looks okay. How is pawn h3? Oh, white does have a knight in hand, sorry. So cancelling. And what happens here? Knight h3. And pawn f3. So this is winning. Okay. Yeah, you have a queen check on d7. Mm-hmm. And rook f1, pawn f3, looks fine. Pawn at g4. This is dangerous. Yeah, bishop f7. But why not knight f5 here? And then take on h6. White looks safe with his king on h3. But take with the king on g5 instead of the bishop. Okay. And he maintains his 50-point lead, Morlock. He's playing the number 2 in the tournament, Terra 87. So let's have a look at this. White giving up material. But he does have a nice little initiative here. Complete control of the light squares. And he doesn't mind giving one more piece for increased attacking chances. And doesn't... No, can you take here? Pawn takes. There's rook h7. Because if you take here, it's good knight. Knight h3 mate is a threat. A very annoying threat, I might add. Look, White had the chance there to take on d5 with a check and then take on g2. But now the bishop is covering h3. And Morlock, you're losing on time. And on the board. So Terra 87 closing in. No, not really. He's still 46 points behind. Who should we watch? Morlock has berserked against Regeneration. And Moloch is playing super fast. Super fast. And Regeneration is playing super bad. And Moloch wins. So I'm starting to get a bit tired here. Moloch and Legion Destroy. Let's watch. Moloch playing his early d6 and e5 pawn thrust. I wonder what the best recipe is for white in this position. So if pawn e6 is the best follow-up, I don't think this is good for black at all. Sort of suspicious pawn place, bishop placement there. But what should he do? If the bishop takes, there's knight at g4. And this queen is doing a great job, threatening stuff everywhere. And black is actually ahead on material. A piece for a pawn, but well, that's something. That was probably a brilliant combination by Legion Destroyer. They are exchanging combos. Bishop d6, yeah. Maybe take b6. So many options now for white. Watch out for the fork here on e2. But I mean, oh, with a couple of checks, white got e2 covered. And considering the board and the clock, Moloch is just dead lost. And as a matter of fact, I think I will call it quits pretty soon. Mm-hmm. How do you proceed here? Yay, black is up on material, I should mention. Mm-hmm. And you probably don't take there. Mm. Well, Anju Nakamura is desperate. And do you know who else is desperate? I'm dying for some sleep. Yeah, I know Terra 87 has won 7 in a row with uh, with extra time. I'm just too tired to comment. I'm afraid, but I'm prepared to bet a fairly nice sum of money that Morlock will take this. So it's a promise to you all from me. And I'll call it quits now. Morlock will win, and I hope you enjoyed the other games. See you around. Bye bye.